And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Blessum versus Blessum. Step forward.
22-year-old salesperson Kaylee Blessum is suing her brother, 19-year-old warehouse worker Adam Blessum, for crashing her car. Adam says Kaylee's insurance should pay.
What's your first name?
Kaylee?
Kaylee. That's your brother. You each have a car.
Yes.
What kind of car do you have?
A 2000 Mitsubishi Galant.
And what kind of car does Adam have?
He had a 2002 Mitsubishi Galant.
What happened to his car?
He got into an accident a couple months ago.
Totaled his car?
Mm-hmm.
When did he borrow your car?
He borrowed it around May 10th of '03.
And at that time he had a car?
Yes.
But he liked your car better because your car had nicer...
rims and just flashier of a car.
I know you love these cases. You borrowed her car to go over to a friend's house.
Yep.
And what happened, Adam?
On the way to bring a car back, I slid on some kind of ice. So I slid off to the left side of the road and hit a tree.
And what did you do to your sister's car?
I broke the headlight, the bumper, and crushed the fender a little.
A lot of damage.
So you caused some damage to her car.
Yeah.
And you want him to pay for the damage.
Yes.
Adam says, why didn't you put this through the insurance that you had on the car?
I called the insurance company, and they actually told me that if I did, because
he was 19 years old, your insurance rates would go up, and they would go up for a very long time.
Right.
So you want her to put this through her insurance, and you'd be, according to you, more than happy to pay for her deductible. Is that right?
Right.
That's your defense.
Yeah.
Are you more than happy, Adam, to pay for her increased insurance rates for the next 5 years?
No.
Why not?
Well, she could have done that to my car too.
Listen, she could have stood on her head and had twins in the parking lot of Target. She could have done that too, but she didn't. You caused an accident damaging her car, right?
Right.
If she were to put the accident through her insurance, it would cost her additional premiums, at least for the next 5 years, through no fault of her own. So, would you be prepared to pay for her $500 deductible as well as her increased insurance premiums over the next 5 years?
No.
Why not?
We didn't have an agreement on if that would happen. Accidents happen.
Yes, accidents happen. And the person who is closest in responsibility for that accident bears the responsibility for that accident. Mm-hmm. That's what an accident is, my friend. That's why they don't call it an on purpose. Had you been more careful with her car would not have been in an accident. If there was ice and rain on the street that night, you should have taken your own car. And if you chose to take her car, you assumed the responsibility for any damage that was done to the car, not her. How much did it cost to fix your car?
Total was $1,587.47.
Can I see the bill, please?
I have actually 2 estimates that I got.
Did you fix it yet?
Yes.
Good. Well, how much did it cost you to fix it?
The $1,587.47.
Okay. The other one was more.
Right.
Good. What kind of work do you do, Adam?
It's an assembly line.
You work regularly?
Yep.
You live at home?
I live with my girlfriend at her parents' house.
At her parents' house?
Yeah.
You mean her parents think that you're prize enough to let you move into their house with their daughter? How old is their daughter?
19.
19. Uh-huh. All right. Kaylee!
Yes.
He has to fix your car. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,587.
Thank you very much.
Please excuse me. Step out.
I'm just happy that I won my case.
You should have to only pay the deductible.
He's been in so much trouble with the law.
Accidents happen, and that's what insurance is for.
He was probably intoxicated at the time.
She can think whatever she wants.
Now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Callahan versus Colarusso. Step forward, please.
Business owner Dawn Callahan is suing her father's ex-girlfriend, homemaker Dee Colarusso, for the return of her late mother's desk. Dee claims the desk was abandoned.
Miss Callahan, Miss Colarusso is your father's former girlfriend.
Correct.
According to your complaint, your father has a desk that belonged to your mother, who passed away, and the desk was to be yours. He was bringing it to you. And he stopped over at his girlfriend's house, and for some reason he left his truck there for a while and the desk. They subsequently broke up. She has your desk. You want it back.
Yes.
You have a picture of the desk?
No, I don't.
Do you?
No, certainly.
I'd like to see it, please. Oh, it's a pretty little lady's desk.
Yes.
Where is it? In your living room?
No, it's upstairs in my bedroom.
How long do you know Miss Callahan?
I'd say approximately a year and a half. Year.
She a nice person?
At times.
When did your mother pass away?
April 26, 2002.
Was this her desk?
Yes, it was.
Did you tell Miss Calaruso that it was your mother's desk?
Yes, I did.
When did she tell you that?
To my recollection, I had never heard anything about it except that Lynn moved it into my home. 2 minutes after he moved into my home.
He did?
Yes, and left it in my garage.
Yes.
It proceeded to get mildew, all kinds of markings, and all the rest of it. I had a couple of friends come in, empty it out, put the stuff into a green bag to lighten it so they could move it upstairs into my upstairs apartment, and they did so. So now it's been receiving much better care.
Well, that's very nice, but it's not your desk.
Well, I consider it storage fee.
I don't care what you consider it. You had a storage arrangement with him?
No.
Well, if you didn't have a storage arrangement with him, my dear, then you can't say I'm taking the desk for storage fee.
I took his car for storage fee.
Listen to me very carefully. It doesn't belong to you. It's not your desk. Romance is over? It's over. You can't just decide you're going to protect the property that doesn't belong to you and then say, somebody says, I want my desk back. You say, well, I took it upstairs and I've been taking care of it, so now it's mine. You have to give her back the desk. 5 days from today. Make arrangements with the mover. You want to leave the desk upstairs and have her mover bring it downstairs, or you want your mover to bring it downstairs?
Who says it's her desk?
I do! Now, that's her father. Whose desk is it?
My daughter's desk.
Right. Belonged to her mother. She wants her mother's desk, but she doesn't want you to have it. And it holds absolutely no sentimental value for you whatsoever. Just mad value because you're not together with the prize package anymore. She gets a desk back in 5 days. I'll sign the order. That's it.
Excuse me?
What?
My paperwork, all my mother's legal paperwork that was inside there, 401ks and everything. Can
I don't
get
know where
back
that
to
is. Where is it?
Gone.
What did you do with it?
It went out with the trash. All the trash that Lenny had dumped.
It's gone. Listen to me. It's probably gone. She's not nice. She's probably mad. Did he dump her?
In a nice way.
I don't care whether it's a nice way. It's never a nice way to a lady to get dumped. Did he dump her?
Yes.
That's what she did with your mother's stuff that was inside the desk.
Okay.
Dumped it. Got it?
Okay.
The desk you get back. 5 days.
Okay.
And it better be in good condition. That's all.
Thank you.
What is our excuse? You may step out.
I'm very happy I'm getting my mother's desk back.
I would not harm somebody else's antique furniture.
I've been nothing but nice to her and did favors for her, and she turned around and done this to me.
I'm not punishing his daughter. He owes me $375.
It was my great-grandmother's and given to my grandmother, to my mother, and now to me.
The desk is only worth $250.
Just want it back.
Somebody owes me money. I want it back.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dinatelli versus Simonson, step forward, please.
Engineer Jay Dinatelli is suing fellow dog owners, 23-year-old Jessica Simonson and her father, Eric Simonson, for injuries to his hand and legs. Jay says he suffered leash burns when Jessica's pit bull attacked his dogs.
Husband and wife?
Father-daughter.
Father-daughter. Never can tell. It's Hollywood. Whose dog is it?
He was mine.
What kind of dog was he?
Staffordshire Terrier.
That's pit bull.
Yes, ma'am.
And how long did you have him?
2 years.
Where is he now?
I'm assuming he was given to another home after I released him to the SPCA when I had to move and get rid of him.
You had to move from where to where?
From the house I was living in into a different house, which did not allow me to keep him.
So you don't know where he is?
Correct.
How old are you?
23.
What's your father doing here?
He's property owner where the incident happened.
Okay. So you're walking your dogs on a leash.
Yes, Your Honor.
And out from nowhere comes a pit bull.
As you know, I was walking my dogs on the levee, and suddenly my dogs alerted to something in back of me. I turned around, and there's a pit bull just charging towards me from about 150 feet away. It was very aggressive. It ran straight up to my dogs, tail straight in the air, very dominant posture, and quite frankly, I was terrified. I yelled at the dog to go home, paid no attention to me. About a minute later, I saw Miss Simonson emerge. She yelled something at her dog. The dog paid no attention to her. I yelled at her to control your dog, and at that point she strolled towards us, which I found kind of amazing, that she wasn't sprinting down the levee. She grabbed for the dog on 2 or 3 different occasions, and every time she reached down to grab her dog, it would scoot away, and in the scuffle, the leashes got wrapped around me, and that's how I got my injuries.
Tell me about your injuries.
The injuries were both to my hand and to both of my legs. They were burn-type injuries produced by the retractable leash. I've got photos of them if you'd like.
I'd like to see them.
I was wearing walking shorts at the time, so both of my legs were bare. The worst injury was the injury to my pinky finger, but they were all pretty bad injuries. It caused me a lot of pain for a week, and the injury to my hand took a full month to heal. I have a permanent scar right now.
Can I see it, please? Step up. I see it right here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Frightening, scary, but you don't do hand commercials, right?
I'm a professor, so I lecture for a living, but
Right.
no, I don't do hand commercials.
Okay.
You're right.
One of the other things I was interested in is that you indicate that when you made an investigation, you discovered that this was not the first complaint of this dog being out unattended.
That's correct, Your Honor.
You have any proof of that,
Yes,
sir?
I do.
When did this incident happen?
January 3rd of 2003, and those complaint reports show that there were 4 formal complaints filed against this dog and this owner within the previous 18 months.
Did you know that there had been prior violations filed, that the dog was out?
No, ma'am, I was not aware
Well, you
of that.
did.
I was not aware of 4 of them, no.
How many were you aware of?
2?
Two's enough. This dog hurt somebody else in the same kind of circumstances. White pit bull jumped the fence this morning. The complainant fell back and injured back trying to keep the dogs apart.
I was in LA at the time.
Who cares where you were? All right, I'll hear you.
My version of what happened was I let my dog out to go to the bathroom.
What do you mean you let your dog out to go to the bathroom?
I opened the sliding glass door to let him out into the backyard.
How many violations had you had at that time? 2, according to you?
That I'm aware of, yes.
I don't care what your version is. You just answered your own question. You just resolved this lawsuit. This lawsuit says that you were negligent, careless, and as a result of that, he was injured. Don't you get it? You knew you had a dog that twice caused other people to call and register complaints, and instead of putting your pants on and putting the dog on a leash, you opened the door and let him out.
I was out there with him.
Who cares? Do you get it, Mr. Simonson?
Yes, ma'am, I...
Good, I'm glad you both get it.
However, I disagree that the dog is potentially vicious. This dog is...
I don't care what you believe. The dog caused injury to him. Don't be a fool. The dog was not within the control of his owner.
I agree with that, Your Honor.
Perfect. I don't know whether or not your injuries are worth $5,000, which is what you're suing for, but their stupidity is worth $5,000. And the lesson to be learned is worth $5,000, that when you have a dog that is capable of causing serious physical injury or death, you don't open the door and let the dog out to go to the bathroom alone. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I did agree that it was my fault that the dog got out, but I didn't feel that his damages were worth $5,000.
The dog assumed a dominant, aggressive stance.
He was a 2-year-old puppy just trying to go play with a guy and his dogs.
The incident that I reported was consistent with the other incidents that were on file with animal control.
I didn't feel that he was aggressive at all.
It didn't have to happen. That dog had terrorized that neighborhood for 18 months.
This dog had never bit anyone, had never been in a dog fight.
This is not an animal that is appropriate for residential neighborhoods, as far as I'm concerned.
It's all an unfortunate situation. I don't even have the dog anymore, and that's upsetting to me just to begin with.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kangas versus Kangas, step forward, please.
Licensed investigator Paul Kangas is suing his son, 21-year-old movie theater clerk Shane Kangas, for unauthorized credit card charges and for money owed on a computer. Shane says he worked off the debt by working in the family business.
Mr. Kangas, this young man is your son.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old is he?
21.
What do you do?
I work at a movie theater.
What do you do there?
I serve people popcorn, clean up at the night.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Computer technician.
Okay. Mr. Kangas, you say that your son came to live with you, and you also purchased a computer for him, and I understand that the agreement was it was going to be paid for in sort of barter. He was going to put in a certain number of hours working for your business, which is private investigating business.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that would pay off the computer.
Yes.
And you also gave him a credit card.
I did.
And told him to use it, but use it wisely.
It's to help him in the business, so when I send him out to do something, like go to the lab to develop film, that he'd have a way of paying for the film, picking up the film.
And what about personal stuff if he needed something?
Personal stuff, he had to check with me before he spent beyond $20. I have the same arrangement with my daughter, and she honors it strictly with her credit card.
That's what makes horse racing, sir. Children
Yes.
are different.
That's for sure.
Okay. After several months, he decided he didn't like it anymore, so he decided to sit in his room, play his guitar, whatever. You got annoyed. He left. You wanted to pay for the computer and for the credit card bills that he racked up while he was still using the credit card. That's what your lawsuit's about.
Somewhat. It's the reason for buying the computer for him was to motivate him. So I made this deal with him. Look, you pick out any computer you want, and the deal is you'll pay for it out of the amount of time you put in. I'm only asking you to work 4 hours a day. We lived across the street from the courts, so it was easy for him.
Well, how long did he work for you after you bought him the computer?
Several months. He was doing quite well. He was really motivated.
Well, how much did he work off of the computer?
About $1,000 of it.
That's a pretty nebulous contract that you have with him, Mr. Kangas.
Well, he didn't last that long because he got so into the computer. I mean, he'd be up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning on the computer, and I'm trying to sleep. I was trying to motivate him. I was trying to control him. I was trying to exert some parental influence on him.
All sounds terrific. Remember the father knows best?
Yes, I do.
It's not like that anymore.
Well, it's...
families don't sit around in shirts and ties having dinner together anymore. Everything that you did with your son sounds as if you had the right motivation. He was going to work, and he was going to pay off his computer, and he was going to be responsible with the credit card.
That's right.
Right.
But then we got into a dispute over the computer, and then he moved out and started spending the credit card like it was his credit card, and it was free money, and he just started sending me these bills for huge amounts of money.
Well, what I would like to see is the bills after he moved out. And then, Bert, you know what we're going to do? We need one of those great fly swatters that we used to have. Because there's a sucker here that's looking to meet its ancient relatives.
I think I got just what you need.
You or me?
Oh. Took a nice little nosedive right into your cup. No, they don't. No.
See what happens when I get annoyed?
Yes,
Okay. What date did you move out, young man?
It was 14 months ago.
Well, give me a month.
June or July.
June or July. So let me see the bills after June or July. Let's do July.
Well, the deal was no crazy expenses. And
Mr. Kangas, listen to me very carefully, sir. I raised a lot of teenagers, and they are so creative with a credit card.
Yeah.
I didn't know for a very long time that when I gave a kid a gas credit card, that they could go in and get enough food for their entire dormitory in one of those gas places. I didn't know that. And I said, how could they use so much gas? The campus isn't that big. Where are you using all that gas? And then I realized that you can buy milk and juice and newspapers and cookies and snacks and and you can not only buy, and you can not only buy it for yourself, but you can buy it for all your friends, because if you buy it for all your friends, they give you the cash.
Right.
Do you understand? Listen, Mr. Kangas, I know that happens. I didn't sue my children. So what I want to see is, after he left, because it was clear to me that when you left, you should have left the credit card.
He did. I took it away from him.
And how did he use it?
I don't know how he got another one.
How did you use it, sir? Shh. Is not an answer.
I had the number on my computer still, so I could still make online purchases.
Okay. Now, Mr. Kangas, what's your first name?
Shane.
Shane. So let me explain this to you. The computer, sir, is yours because your father made a too soft a deal for me to have to figure out how many hours you worked and whether or not you paid for the computer with the work that you did for it. That's his problem. But you're a big boy, so you knew that when you moved out of the house and your father took the credit card from you, you were not supposed to use it, right? It's not an answer.
Sorry.
If he took the credit card from you, he said to you, what did he say? Give me the credit card, and if you need it, go look on your computer and get the number? Give me the fly swatter. Let me explain something to you. He's a computer hacker.
That's right.
And he's going to go into your bills, and if he has your social security number, he'll steal your identity, and all of a sudden you'll find that you bought 9 surfboards.
Then he took the credit card out of my ex-wife's purse and went back to spending it again.
Well, it doesn't say much for you, sir, that you raised a thief.
No, I feel it's the unexpected legacy of divorce.
That is a crock. That's not the legacy of divorce. I've been divorced, and I had children, and none of them are thieves. 5 of them. Nobody would go into my pocketbook and steal my credit card. So that's ridiculous.
Well, he's depressed, and I feel that...
He's depressed?
Yeah, he's got a...
He's depressed. He's a thief. But that's not being depressed. Look at him. Does he look depressed to you? He doesn't look depressed to me.
He's got a lack of...
A little high, maybe, but not depressed. Right, Shane?
No.
Really?
Really?
Really? No. I see $849 on the credit card after July.
Unfortunately, I put all of the receipts in a special envelope, put it in a special place, and then I couldn't find it, so that by the time I got here, that's what I had. I understand. I should have had better control of my file.
No, you should have better control of your son.
That
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $849. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I can understand where he's coming from because a similar thing happened to me and my father at this age.
We had a fight towards the end of me living there.
And eventually we got back together.
I'm going to go off and do my own thing.
I hope that Shane will sometime recognize me as a friend again because we had a great relationship.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McCullough versus Nelson's Nautilus. Step forward, please.
Student Renee McCullough is suing the owners of her gym, Preston Nelson and John Ashey, for breaking into her locker and selling her belongings. The men say Renee's locker dues were 6 months delinquent.
Miss McCullough, you belonged to the defendant's gym, according to your complaint, for about 9 years.
That's correct.
And then there came a time recently that you stopped going, about a year ago. And it is your claim that they clipped the lock off your locker after several months and got rid of your stuff. You want them to pay you $600 for what you claim was in the locker. When did you first rent your locker?
The first time I rented it was for a year. It was in November of 2001.
And how much was the rental on the locker for that year?
I paid $100. He gave me a break. I paid a year in advance.
Is that right?
That sounds correct.
Okay, $100 for the year. That was in 2001.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay in 2002? Is not an answer.
No.
Why not?
Because it was my understanding when I paid for my year in advance that it would be included in my automatic payment out of my bank, and in the event that it wasn't, that Preston would let me know.
Did you have that conversation with her?
I couldn't. I would say yes, I did. We could not find any paperwork to show that, so I don't know where it all fell short, but I have no paperwork that would show that. Typically, it was a prepaid year only.
Okay. When did you stop going to the gym at all?
At approximately middle of 2002.
And when did you go back?
The end of July of 2003.
And when you went back in July of 2003, you found your locker opened?
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's well over a year ago. What have you done the last year?
After I found out my lock had been cut off, I spoke to Mr. Ashby, and he said he had to speak to his wife to find out where my belongings were. He thought that they still had them on the premises. At that time, I found out that no, they were no longer there. I left a note with Mr. Ashby concerning, I had quite a bit of belongings in that locker, and that if they would pay me for my swimsuit and my shoes, I would go away.
Do you work? I assume you do.
I did previous to this, yes.
What are you doing now?
I'm going back to school.
How do you support yourself?
Through my husband.
Oh, okay. So your family supports itself?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going back to school. What I want to know is, I assume that you have a busy life. I want to know why you're suing him over swimsuit and shoes.
I expect that if they run a business, that they need to comply with the laws that regulate the renting of areas.
Well, but the truth of the matter is, Ms. McCullough, from what you tell me, you didn't go back to the gym for almost a year. And during that period of time, the locker was really not paid for. You assumed that it was going to be paid for. You assumed that they would notify you in the event that it wasn't paid for. Have you lived in the same place
yes.
all the time? Well, what I don't understand, Mr. Nelson, quite frankly, is why couldn't you just send her a note? Drop her a note and say, listen, we're going to empty out your locker because it hasn't been paid for, and it has to be paid for. You better come and get it within the next 2 weeks.
Right. That really, a lot of the specifics, when Johnny came on board, the records were not well kept. We didn't have an automatic payment system in place for lockers. That was something that was discussed, but primarily it's a membership, tanning, health club.
Okay. So what Ms. McCullough was asking for initially was $160. Is that right?
That's what I have, yes.
Right. That's what she said here. Originally, I told me, you've just paid me $160 for my swimsuit and sneakers. That would be fine. And she's here just for the principle of it. Right?
Correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $160. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was fair. It was more making them accountable for what they should have stood up to the plate with before.
At the time that we cleaned the lockers out, we didn't find anything of real value in any of the lockers that we cleaned out. Certainly nothing that would have merited $160 in value.
I think if you own a business and you run a business, that you should comply with the laws.
Judy makes good decisions. She's a competent woman, and it's probably the right decision.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rice versus Welkowitz. Winnie, step forward.
Restaurant owner David Rice is suing 18-year-old James Welkowitz and his former friend, 18-year-old James Winnie, for damaging his restaurant's sign when they were driving drunk.
Welkowitz, raise your hand. Winnie, raise your hand. Which one of you was driving the car?
I was, Your Honor.
Which one was the passenger in the car?
I was, Your Honor.
Which one was drunk?
Both of us.
Raise your hand. Mr. Rice, you are the owner of the Wendy's.
Yes, I am.
These two idiots came through your drive-thru.
Yes,
Mr. Wilkowitz driving the car,
I believe so, yes.
and Mr. Winnie, passenger in the car.
Yes.
One of them wanted free food.
Yes, ma'am.
Raise your hand if you wanted free food. Raise your hand! And when they were told they couldn't get free food, they drove off
Sped off, yes, Your Honor.
and damaged some of your property.
Hit a light pole and
a
ran
pole.
over a sign. Yes, ma'am.
And you want them to pay for the damage.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see the damage, please?
Yes. I have pictures also, Your Honor.
I'd like to see the pictures. I'd like to see the estimates.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
There you go, Bert, thank you. And I have police reports also.
Date of the incident, please.
October 21st, 2004.
October 21st. That's my birthday.
Happy birthday. My brother's birthday also.
Now, you gentlemen were not celebrating my birthday, were you? What were you celebrating on October 21st?
What were we celebrating? We were just having a night out, just drinking.
And whose car were you driving, Mr. Wilkowitz?
I was driving his car.
And how did you get the keys to his car, Mr. Wilkowitz?
He gave them to me. He asked me to drive because he was too drunk. He was swerving all over the road because he just got back from Taco Bell.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
What do you do?
I do construction.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, Your Honor.
When?
June. 04.
And you?
I didn't graduate, Your Honor.
How old
I
are you?
graduate this year.
How old are you?
18.
Are you on a 5-year plan
No,
of high
8.
school?
No.
A 6-year plan?
I started school late.
You think you're going to get smarter by being drunk?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Rice has had about $1,200 worth of damage to his property. Who's going to pay for it? I don't see those hands going up.
Hey, Your Honor, can I say something, though?
That's wiping your nose, sir. I don't see the hands going up. Who's
I just
gonna
wanted to
pay?
bring up that he did break my nose. We got out the car, I pulled over, he broke my nose, I had to go to the hospital.
He broke your nose. That before or after you damaged Mr.
After.
Shh. Is that before or after you damaged Mr. Rice's property?
After I damaged his property.
Why would I care about that? I'm going to say it again. You were driving.
Yes, Your Honor.
It was your car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Raise your hand and tell me who's going to pay for Mr. Rice's damaged pole and sign. Oh,
Can I say something, Your Honor? The only reason why I hit the sign because he grabbed the wheel.
Why would I grab the own wheel in my car?
why were you in the car with him when you were drunk?
He took my keys from my friend's mom.
Yes. That doesn't tell me how you got into the car, sir.
Because he was about to take off with my car.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's lying.
Oh, I can't anymore. I can't anymore. I mean, it's Dumb and Dumber. They were the standard for the script.
You read my mind.
Mr. Rice.
Yes, ma'am.
Sad but true. Youth of America. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,200. Just take him out.
Okay. Please excuse you. You may step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I was the manager on the shift, and they came through drunk, rude.
He only got 6 months probation and a night in jail. I got 93 days in jail and a year of probation.
It would never happen if you went and took my keys.
Judge Judy is always fair, and she's just like Dave Thomas of Wendy's. She does the right thing, and that's why I brought it to her attention, and I knew we would get satisfaction.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rue versus Ginsburg. Step forward, please.
Daycare worker Angela Rue is suing limo company owner Paul Ginsburg for a refund of his fee. Angela claims the limo he provided for her twin son's prom was filthy.
Mr. Ginsburg, how many limousines do you have in your fleet?
9.
Mrs. Rue, you reserved a limousine for your boy's prom, is that right?
Yes.
From Mr. Ginsburg's company. How did you find his company?
Off the internet.
These are your two boys?
Yes, ma'am.
When did they graduate? This past June?
Yes.
And when was their prom?
May the 22nd.
And what did you reserve?
A 6-passenger limo, a new model Lincoln limo for my kids.
Did he tell you how much it would be?
$428 for a party package limo.
Is that what a party package is, sir? $428?
We don't have party packages as per se. A party package is how they dress up a limousine. but it's by the hour, times however many hours plus tax and tip.
What did he tell you that they would have in the limo to dress it up?
It would be like a party scene, balloons, confetti and everything like that, little soft drinks in there.
And what time is it supposed to arrive?
7 o'clock.
What time did it arrive?
7:15.
So what's the problem?
The problem is when the limo got there, I'm expecting a new limousine, like it had a broken tail light, the car was dirty, the tinted windows had bubbles all up in it. Inside of the limo, it had a cut, which it had a chocolate bar inside. I didn't know that until later after my son got to the prom and he sit on it and got out and had a big old chocolate stain on his tux.
Did you take photographs of it?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see them, please?
This is all this inside.
Miss Rue, did you prepay this limousine the $428?
I paid it as it arrived there. I paid it.
The inside doesn't look so bad to me.
But inside...
What do you think?
Hard to tell from here, to be honest with you.
Sure is. Son looks pretty good in the tux. Pretty girl.
Yeah.
Whose date was that? Yours?
Yes.
Still with her?
Huh?
Shut up. The outside has these little bubbles in it. Is that what you're talking about?
Funky. Yes, I also have a videotape.
Okay, so now I'll take a look at the videotape, because so far I see a broken taillight, but nothing that strikes me as being disastrous, quite frankly.
We might can live with that, but for $400, you need to get the discount or something. See here, look, ain't this trash up in this here corner? See this tail light? It's flashing and it's white, okay? I just want to put this on the camera. Tail light's broken, that fan side blinking is blinking white, not red. I should have been a lawyer. Bring me some cases.
Did you have a good time at your prom?
Yes.
Did you have a good time at your
Yes.
prom? Sure you did. Did you rent your tuxedo?
Mm-hmm.
You brought it back with the chocolate stain?
No, we went in the bathroom and cleaned up.
You paid $428 for 6 hours. Now you're suing Mr. Ginsburg for $5,000. You want to explain that to me, Mrs. Rue?
For hardship.
What kind of hardship?
Because this only happened once in a lifetime for my kids, a prom. This is a remember moment.
The boys had a good time at their prom.
After they cleaned up the chocolate off his pants and was disappointed because of the limo.
Ms. Rue, I don't know if you've ever seen me do cases involving limousine companies around prom time. I am very, very hard on a limousine company that overbooks, that disappoints kids, that doesn't get there in time, that sends the wrong kind of car, that doesn't send a car that's large enough to accommodate. I'm really tough on them because I think that that's, you know, without a conscience if you do that to kids and you disappoint them and don't provide a service. But quite frankly, life isn't perfect. And while this limousine probably could have been spruced up a little bit more, and while clearly I saw a tiny cut in the seat, you say there was some chocolate something in there that got on your son's pants. He said he went into the bathroom, cleaned it up, and then you went and you had a great time at your prom. Fair statement?
Yes.
The only one that didn't have a good time was you. And you have to teach your children the following. You have to teach your children that there are things that you get excited about in this life and that aggravate you in this life, and there are things that you just pass over. And you say, listen, things could have been better. You had a great time. Glad you had a great time. Next time we won't use Mr. Ginsburg's company.
Exactly.
That's all. But you're not entitled to $4,500 for your aggravation.
I understand that.
Right. And when you went and followed him and he had a broken tail light, there was a white light instead of a red light, I guarantee you, your children didn't know that. The only ones that knew that were the people that were following him, videotaping for sort of sport this event. So, Mr. Ginsburg, let me explain to you, got off lucky, sir. Because while things could have been neater in your limousine, you probably have to spruce up your fleet a little bit. You're entitled to your $428. You provided a service for the 6 hours. The boys had a good time. And their mother has to get over it. That's all. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He advertised a new brand new limo, and what we get, a lemon.
If you go buy a car, you look at the car and you don't like it, don't buy it. The limo shows up, and it's not the limo you want, call them. Get another limousine or don't accept it.
He said take it or leave it. So I didn't have no choice. I didn't want to disappoint my kids, so I had to take it.
It's the same when you have a restaurant and somebody finishes the last spoonful of soup and pulls up the fly. And says, here we go.
Telemarketer Linda Lindstrom is suing her ex-sister-in-law, daycare operator Janine Rivera, for the cost of a plane ticket, harassment, and defamation of character. Linda claims her ex-husband kidnapped their daughter and hid the girl at Janine's house.
That's case number 513 on the calendar in the matter of Lindstrom versus Rivera. Is it Rivera?
Rivera.
Rivera. Vice been sworn in, Judge. Thank you. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Lindstrom, is your former husband here in court today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that this gentleman over
Yes,
here?
Your Honor.
Miss Rivera is his sister.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Your former husband picked up your daughter, who was 3 at the time.
That's correct.
And took her to his sister's house in
That's
Texas.
correct, Your Honor.
You didn't know where she was for a period of time.
That's correct.
You ultimately found out where she was.
Correct.
And you are alleging that Miss Rivera kept her secreted from you.
That's correct.
Forcing you to get on a plane, incur expenses to go and get your daughter.
Correct.
In addition, when you got your daughter, Miss Rivera called Child Protective Services, making all kinds of allegations. Shh. That's her complaint. Making all kinds of allegations against you that were ultimately found to be untrue, or the cases were closed as being unfounded, and that she has spread certain other, what you consider malicious statements about you.
Correct.
Ms. Rivera says that she was merely trying to be a good aunt and that her concern was not with you, her concern was only with her niece. That's her defense.
Yes,
when were you married to Mr. Tidwell?
November 28th, 1998.
And when was your daughter born?
July 23rd, 2000.
Do you have any other children?
I have 2 other children from previous marriage.
How old are they?
They're 17-and-a-half-year-old twin girls.
Do they live with you?
They actually attend an all-girls private boarding school. I have full custody of them. They're home on weekends. It's in the same town that I live in. They live on campus during the week.
And when did you and Mr. Tidwell separate?
July 2003, after a restraining order.
Who had the restraining order?
I had a restraining order against him. That's one of multiple.
You have a copy of that?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
There's one in July and one in September. Do you
I'd like
want
to see
both
both.
of them?
Well, this is an ex parte application. This is your application. I'd like to see where the court entered an order.
Okay.
Was there a trial?
He pleaded no contest.
So there was no trial, and he consented to the entry of the order of protection?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Is that correct, Mr. Tidwell?
That's very correct.
All right. So that's akin to a plea of guilty. Can I see the final order, please?
Okay, this is the order renewing it this year, and it was renewed, I want to say, in part to the harassment of the defendant. It's written in this order.
May I see it, please?
Your
Mr.
Honor?
Tidwell, would you stand up for a second, please, sir? Why did you choose not to appear when the application was made to renew the order of protection?
No, I chose to appear, and I asked my lawyer to be there, and he chose not to appear.
Did you consent to this order being extended?
No, I tried to contest it. I was representing myself.
So you contested it?
Yes.
And you offered testimony before the court?
What I could get in without...
Whatever. You offered testimony, Mr. Tidwell.
Yes, ma'am.
And after hearing your former wife and you, the court extended the order for another 12 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now you can sit down. All right, you separated in July of 2003 as a result of these allegations?
Correct.
When did your former husband take your daughter from daycare?
He took her on September 2nd, 2003. He picked her up from daycare and left a Post-it note that he was taking her. He then went to Mississippi and then to Texas, where the defendant lives.
Okay. In September of 2003, was there in existence a custody order with regard to
No,
your daughter?
Your Honor, there was not.
At the time that you went in to file this ex parte application for a protective order, your daughter was still with you?
The first one she was.
I'm talking about the first one?
Yes, July she was.
And this was good until when?
That was a 10-day order. I did not show up because he threatened to kidnap my daughter if I, in fact, went to court.
Okay. But at this time it says he was to stay at least 100 yards away. You did not follow through with this lapse?
That's correct.
Okay, I got it. Now, when he picked up your child from daycare, there came a time that he took her to your house. When was that?
He arrived at my house probably around September 7th, 8th.
Had you been expecting him? Is not an answer,
Yes,
Ms. Rivera.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. What did he tell you as far as coming to you with Autumn?
He was crying and screaming and telling me that the situation was just really out of control and he didn't know what he was going to do.
And what did you tell him when he said he was coming to bring Autumn to you?
Oh, I told him I'd be happy to see him and Autumn.
How long did he stay with you?
He stayed till September 14th.
And then where did he go?
And then he went to Memphis.
For what?
Tennessee. He was trying to find a job and get housing and daycare set up and get prepared for what was about to happen.
And he left Autumn with you?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm a registered child care provider.
I don't care whether you're a child care provider or Mother Teresa.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says, after her ex-husband kidnapped their daughter, his sister, Janine Rivera, harbored the girl. Janine claims she and her brother took action because Linda is mentally unstable.
Okay. From when he arrived on the 7th of September to the 14th of September, did you, in fact, have any conversation with the plaintiff?
Yes.
Tell me about that conversation.
Oh, there were many. She had been calling me numerous. I have the phone bills.
Okay. She'd been calling you at that point numerous times trying to find out where your brother was and where her daughter was.
Yes, ma'am.
And when he arrived, did you call her and let her know?
I had him call her and let her know.
Were you present?
Yes.
When he made that phone call? I'd like you to tell me what you overheard.
I heard him telling her to get some help for herself and get healthy for her daughter, to please go check herself into a hospital. Do something positive is what he told her. Do something positive to show me that you're capable of taking care of my daughter.
Okay. What information did he give you, Ms. Rivera, that suggested to you that the plaintiff needed to get any help whatsoever?
He gave me a lot of information over the years, and she's given me a lot of information over the years.
Let's go to what she has given you, not he. She.
Okay. I know has anorexic nervosa. I know she has a lot of mental illnesses, and she told me, she can't fix her. It'll never be fixed. That it's a biological, chemical thing. When this first happened, I was trying to talk to her to make sure she didn't hurt herself because I knew he was leaving her. And he left Autumn in her care when he left her. He left her a month before this all started. Because she did on the 29th, she called 911 for the 100th time on my brother because he raised his voice or something.
Well, you weren't there, so you don't know what happened. But you have to remember that your brother admitted to being abusive. Because when you consent to the entry of a protective order, and you know that the issue of custody is lurking, you can either fight it.
Your Honor, he had bad counsel.
No, don't tell me he had bad counsel. But listen to me.
It's been a nightmare.
Listen to me. You know, I hear a lot of excuses, but when you consent to the entry of a protective order, you can't come into court and say, I didn't understand, I had a bad lawyer, and the fact that he went before a judge on the extension of that protective order a year later suggests to me that the judge found that he has a problem. He's a smart enough man to plan on picking up his daughter at daycare, bringing her to you in a different state, then traveling to yet another state in order to secure a job and housing. All that requires a certain amount of planning, not something that somebody who is mentally challenged does. Do you understand, Ms. Rivera?
Right. Okay. Your Honor, can I say one thing? During the month of August, in fact, Mr. Tidwell was out of the state. And if, in fact, these people were so concerned with the health and safety of my child, why during the month of August was CPS not called? Was a neighbor not called? Was the police not called? Nobody was ever called to check on the child. Okay. Never.
Okay. Where do you come from?
Originally New York. North Carolina is where my home state is.
Okay, so you were in North Carolina.
That's correct.
This happened in North Carolina. And is that where you were married to Mr. Tidwell?
That's correct, Your Honor.
So you removed the child from the child's home state?
Yes, ma'am.
You can't do that.
Excuse me, may I stand?
You sure can.
Thank you. I was planning a very short trip. All I asked Linda to do was to get some help while I took my daughter to a safe haven. And
Mr. Tidwell, did you tell her that you were taking your child out of daycare before or after you took the child out of daycare?
I had told her a long time ago she needed...
I'm not talking a long time ago that you told her she needed help. I'm saying that the day you came to take your daughter out of daycare, had you given your wife warning that day or the day before that it was your intention to pick her up that day?
On my daughter's birthday, I gave her warning that I would be taking my daughter if she didn't do something to get help. Okay?
Mr. Tidwell, you had a choice, sir. You chose self-help rather than going to court. You and the plaintiff separated. The child remained with her. You had at least a month to go into court in North Carolina and say, I believe that I am the more qualified parent. My wife has certain incapacities. The best interests of the child require that she stay with me. I'd like you to look into it because here are where all the records are. You go to Memphis, Tennessee, sir. How are they going to get her records and your records and the child's records? How are they going to get that?
Your Honor, I'm no lawyer. I didn't know what legal process was.
Sit down, Mr. Tidwell. I don't believe that, sir. You knew enough to get a lawyer after this trouble started, even though you say you didn't like your lawyer. And the lawyer didn't. Put your hand down.
3.
3 lawyers?
Exactly. 3 lawyers.
Wait, listen to me, Miss Rivera. Everybody can't be wrong. Everybody can't be wrong.
Your Honor, she's been in the system in North Carolina for years.
They even more, listen to me, even more important, Miss Rivera, because if she were in the system, quiet. If she were in the system, as you suggest, for years, then the courts in North Carolina, the family court, I'm speaking, the family court in North Carolina is the court to say, this is somebody that we really have to look at. She has a history in North Carolina. Why would you take her to Tennessee, where she has no history of being in the system, when you have a place that has easy access to those records where your brother, if he was the right person to be in control of a 3-year-old, would have a much better shot.
Can I explain?
You're not going to be able to explain to my satisfaction.
She's had counselors coming into the home while they were married. They've seen what's going on.
When was the last time, Ms. Rivera, that you spent more than 2 days in their home in North Carolina?
I've never been there.
What?
I've never been to her home. But
I'm just asking you a question. You're laughing.
No.
You've never been to her home. Now, I want you to look at the objective data. Objective. Not what you spoke to her about, what your brother told you, what you surmise. This is the objective data. Your brother was married to her, lived with her in their home state of North Carolina from 1998 to 2003. He left the home in July, leaving his 3-year-old daughter in her care. 2 months later, without warning, he goes to the school, takes the child, and removes the child from the child's home state. Takes her to you, drops her off, goes to yet a third state.
No, Your Honor.
Well, that's exactly what happened. That's what you told me.
He stayed a week and was trying to get everything in order because he knew what this was.
Getting everything in order, Miss Rivera, you know. When was the last time that your brother initiated a petition in North Carolina Family Court to have regular visitation with his daughter?
I asked my lawyer to do all that.
But when?
I can't tell you because he hasn't been doing his job.
You have zero sympathy factor, sir. Zero to me.
That's all we've been getting.
Zero. Yeah, you don't get it.
It's not about us, though. We don't want sympathy. We want something for Autumn.
That's right.
Your Honor, I want to hand up to you this evidence. This is evidence that disputes the email, which I will also hand up to you the email. It's a letter from her daycare, from my doctor. I would like you to take a look at all
I have
this.
some too, Your Honor.
It all disputes the email that she wrote. It was a vicious, vindictive attempt on her. This was sent to multiple agencies in North Carolina.
No, that's not
I was
true.
contacted.
Don't speak!
Okay. I was contacted by the guardian ad litem. Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
When was the last time that Ms. Rivera made reports?
That email is the last one that I am aware of.
October
It was
15th of 2004?
Yes, she called me deviant. She accused me of Munchausen
Your Honor.
syndrome.
I'm going to read it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Your Honor, I also have evidence.
Just a second. I'm reading something.
I apologize.
Who are these two people that just sent this email to? Who are those people?
With North Carolina Legal Aid. I was trying to get help.
Legal aid?
Your Honor, can I show you why I did that?
I'll see what you have to show me
Yes,
that
ma'am.
inspired you to write this letter.
This is in her own words, and this is the letter. I don't know if did you have that? And this is show my intent. That paragraph.
Just a second.
This is to show I had no intent to harm Linda. Those are my own notes. I'm sorry.
So let me understand. What you did was you took...
No.
I'm speaking! You didn't even hear what I had to say yet before you said no.
I'm sorry.
Put your papers down. What you did was, not your brother, what you did was you took her responses to depositions that she made in response to a divorce action in February of 2004, and in October of 2004, you wrote this email and incorporated, because this is what you say the basis of your knowledge is.
No, ma'am.
You just gave this to me.
No, I'm sorry. That was what she was referring to. I
No,
gave
no, no,
you
no, no,
the
no,
letter
madam.
I wrote on October 15th. I have bazillion letters I wrote
Listen.
before that.
No, listen.
When this first started, there's so many to everyone, to the President of the United States.
Listen to me. You're a nut. And your brother is a nut. I'm telling you, as a family court judge, I get letters like this all the time.
I'm sorry.
And the only time that I get
wrong?
letters, Ms. Rivera, the only time that I get letters like this, when the objective data suggests to me, I'm not saying that she's mentally healthy. I'm not making that
Do you think
judgment
my
at all.
intent was
Why
to
don't
harm
you
her?
listen? Why don't you listen?
Yes, ma'am.
The most important thing that I have seen so far is in 2 years, according to your brother, he has not himself, not with a lawyer, because you don't need a lawyer to go into the family court in any jurisdiction in this country. He has not himself gone into court and said, please, I am the better custodial parent, and I want to file a custody petition and or a petition to regularly visit with my child. Not according to him, once. He's talked to lawyers, they're all no good. He's had 3 lawyers according to you. Everybody's tried to screw him over. Nobody has represented him properly, so you have taken it upon yourself.
The devil is in the details.
I'm speaking. You have taken it upon yourself to embark upon a course of conduct
to help my niece. It's all
the
about
president
Autumn.
of the president of the United States
I
can't help
didn't
your
write
daughter,
her.
madam.
I didn't
A
write
judge in the family court in North
We
Carolina.
wrote them. We call
You don't write them.
Child Protective Services.
Miss Rivera, either you're thick, and I'm not suggesting that she's mentally healthy, but what I'm suggesting to you is that there's something wrong with you. Because right here in the United States of America, we have a judicial process, and the judicial process says that.
We tried it.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. You don't get it.
No. Unreal. I'm sorry. It's just, this is just typical.
She called me a nut. She don't know who the real nut is, and that's Linda.
Judy saw it. She said, you're a nut. You're thick. They just don't get it.
She's sick. She's the nut.
They're just vicious, vindictive people.
What this woman is doing to my niece. It's unreal.
For every hearing we've gone to, I've been determined to be the better and fit parent for my daughter. There's never been a question.
Her daughter's former friend, school food server Tina Mark, for the cost to fix a Mazda MX-3. Lynn says Tina's 15-year-old daughter, Stephanie Sherman, got behind the wheel and totaled it.
Yeah, this is case number 543 on the calendar in the matter of Riley versus Mark. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ladies. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Riley, I assume this is your daughter and this is your daughter. Is that right?
Correct.
Neither one of you were there on the fateful evening when your daughter got Mrs. Riley's car.
Yes.
And drove it and crashed it.
Yes.
Causing damage. And Mrs. Riley wants you to pay for the damage your daughter caused.
Correct.
And your daughter, whose name is?
Stephanie.
Stephanie says that Kayla gave her the keys to the car, so she's responsible. That's your position.
That's what I've been told.
So now that I know what your positions are, and you look like 2 lovely ladies, you can sit down, and I'm going to have the girls right up there. All right, Kayla. Where were you, and what were you doing when you gave Stephanie the keys to your mother's car?
I was at a friend's house.
Name of the friend?
Aaron.
How old is Aaron?
I think he's 18.
And how many people were at Aaron's house?
I would say about 10 people.
How old were they?
All around the ages between like 15 and 18.
How many of them were drinking?
I would say almost everyone.
Did you see anyone that said, no, I don't drink?
One of my friends, the friend who said that they were driving, did tell me that they didn't drink.
And who was that?
My friend Felipe.
Who invited you to Aaron's house?
Another one of my friends.
Where were Aaron's parents?
They weren't there. I think that he owns the apartment himself.
So Aaron lives there by himself?
Yes, ma'am. I think so.
What does he do for a living, Aaron?
He goes to school, and I'm not sure what his job is.
He goes to college?
He goes to high school. He's a senior in high school.
What kind of alcohol were they serving?
Beer.
And what time did you get there?
I got there approximately 10:30.
What time did you get there, Stephanie?
Probably like 9:45.
Who did you come with?
My friend Mike.
Your friend Mike?
Yeah.
How old is Mike?
Like 18.
And he picked you up from your house?
My friend Danielle's.
Had you been drinking at Danielle's?
No.
You didn't start drinking until you got to Aaron's?
No. I didn't drink there.
You didn't drink anything?
No.
Had nothing to drink? No alcohol?
I had no alcohol.
And Mike, did he have alcohol?
No. He left before, like right when he got there. He only stayed for like 15 minutes, then he left.
Well, and when he was there, he didn't drink?
I wasn't with him at the time.
So, you know you didn't drink. As far as you know, Mike didn't drink. Did you drink?
Yes, ma'am, I had a beer.
Who else didn't drink?
My friend Christina.
She didn't drink?
No.
Now, tell me, Stephanie, how it came about that you got the keys to Kaylee's car.
Kayla got there a little while after me, and when we were standing there,
standing where?
In the middle, like the kitchen and the living room. And when we were standing there, there was only 3 people there who had cars. Michael had left, and Aaron, but he wasn't going to leave, and Kayla had a car. And there's a kid, Josh, there, and he needed a ride home. And Kayla said, well, I have a car. And she goes, well, I'm too cocked to drive. So we were standing there, and I offered. I was like, well, I'll drive. And she's like, will you really? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay. So
why would you offer to drive? You don't have a driver's license.
No, I don't.
You certainly, according to you, weren't drunk.
No, I was not.
So there's no excuse for you saying that I'll get behind the wheel of a car when that's against the law.
Well, I didn't want Kayla to drive because I didn't know if she was going to drive. So
let Josh walk. That's what he has legs for.
Yes, I know.
Like Abraham Lincoln. I mean, I would like to hear all the rest of the excuses, Miss Stephanie.
So we were standing there, and then Kayla showed me her keys, and me, her, and another friend walked outside to the car, and there's a couple of our friends standing outside, and they were smoking cigarettes. I got into the car, and I didn't want to go by myself, so I invited Christina and Felipe to go. So we got into the car, I started the car, and Kayla came out and talked to me, and she said, are you going to be okay to have your seatbelt on? And I said, yes. So she shut the door, and she goes, make sure you're back in 20 minutes. And I was like, okay. And I went to bring him home.
So what you're telling me is Kaylee couldn't drive because she was too drunk?
Yes.
And you weren't because you didn't have any alcohol?
No, I wasn't there for long.
Okay. Miss Mark, you can stand up now. Now you can tell me why you think your daughter is not responsible.
I don't think she's responsible because she doesn't have a valid license, and Kayla knew this.
Okay. Now, when you get someone's permission to do something, and they are incapable of giving you permission, that's like having no permission.
Okay.
You can be incapable of giving permission because you're in a coma, you're mentally challenged, you are high on drugs, you're loaded on alcohol. But if you are in any way incapacitated, you can't give a valid permission. Let me give you an example. If you're out with a young man and he knows that you're drunk and he wants to have sex, and he does, and he knows you're drunk, and you say, I didn't give permission. He knew I was drunk. He knew I couldn't consent. He did this against my will. And you'd be right. Your daughter just told me that she didn't have anything to drink. Now, I don't believe her necessarily. But that's what she told me, because that's what the good story would be, that she didn't have anything to drink. That, by the way, Miss Mark, is a lie.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. O'Reilly says her former friend, 15-year-old Stephanie Sherman, wrecked her Mazda MX-3. Stephanie says Kayla gave her permission to drive it.
She didn't have anything to drink. So she knew she was 15. She knew she had no permission getting behind the wheel of a car. She knew she couldn't get anybody else's permission to drive a car. Can't drive yours, can she? No. And according to her, she knew or believed that the reason she couldn't drive to give Josh a ride home was because she was drunk. Because that's what she just told me. She said, Kaylee said to her, I can't drive. I'm too what? Clocked, cocked, whatever it is. I'm too drunk. That's what the connotation was. So she was incapable of giving her permission, according to your daughter, who's lying, by the way. But I'll take it. Now, your daughter has no reason at 17 to be in a situation where she can be high, drunk with a beer, and have keys to your car.
I understand that.
So what do you think, Miss Riley, is reasonable with regard to the damage to your car?
The deductible and the difference I paid for the car.
What was the damage to your car?
They totaled it.
And so what is your out-of-pocket expense? How much did you pay for the car, and how much did you get from insurance?
Okay, I paid for the car $24.75 in May. What I received from the insurance company was $1741.75.
That leaves a difference of $734. Now, did you buy this car for your daughter, or was it your car?
No, I bought it for her.
You bought it for her?
Yes.
Does she now have another car?
No.
That's good. She doesn't need one. 734 divided by 2. 50% for you, 50% for you. Equals $367. You think you're 50% responsible, or your daughter is, for the damage to the car?
We both are.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $367. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The kid that I was bringing home just went to go grab the steering wheel, and I got nervous, so I turned and I hit the curb. I just should never let anybody else drive my car.
At least she knows better than to get behind the wheel of a car when she's drinking.
I got burns on my face and down my neck, and I got a black eye, like big fat lips.
She could have been killed and everybody else in that car.
There was no responsibility. There was no adults.
It was a mistake, and I paid for it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cash versus Cash. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Deidre Cash is suing her niece, 24-year-old retail supervisor Leslie Katie Cash, for unpaid babysitting fees and the cost to replace a lost camera. Katie claims she replaced the camera with a better one.
Miss Cash, this is your niece.
Yes.
According to your complaint, your niece
Yes.
owes you for some child care that you did for her. And in addition, she owes you money for a camera that she borrowed.
Correct.
That she lost. Your niece says that you're just being greedy about the extra money for child care, and she lost the camera. Who is this?
This is my friend Karen. She served the court documents on my niece, and my niece made a statement to her whenever she did that.
What was the babysitting arrangement for your great niece?
Well, the arrangement was that I was to provide child care for Katie while she worked, and that she was receiving the Welfare to Work program. They were going to pay me for the maximum that they would was 40 hours a week. Well, I had Katie's daughter in my care for anywhere from 50 to 55 hours a week. So the agreement was that she was going to pay me $25 a week for that extra time.
How much were you getting from the state a week for the 40 hours?
It was $512.55 per month. And then the first week and a half or so that I watched her daughter, the welfare program would not cover because her daughter's father was living in the home, and he could have provided care because he was not working, but he refused to do that.
Why?
That's why I left him, Your Honor.
That was a good clue. That kind of attitude was a good clue. Probably a very good decision.
So because there was a parent in the home, they would not provide for the child care. So for the first week and a half, I had asked Katie to pay me $100 a week, which was comparable to what the welfare would have paid me had they paid it.
Well, how much was she earning?
I'm not sure.
How much were you earning?
I was only working about 25 hours a week at $7.25 an hour.
It's very hard for her to pay you $100 a week. In any event, what we're really talking about is the $25 a week in addition to the $100 a week. What about that? Did you make that arrangement with your aunt?
I did make that arrangement, but I also babysat her son for her when she needed him babysat, which I assumed was being taken off of the bill.
Did you ever have a discussion with your niece about her babysitting for your son?
No, and she only watched my son twice for about 4 or 5 hours each time. That was all.
How many weeks, Miss Cash, did you watch, what's your daughter's name?
Lauren.
Lauren.
I watched Lauren for, I know, at least 22 weeks.
Okay, would you step up, please? Sure. Tell me your name.
It's Karen Rogers.
Ms. Rogers, you served the small claims papers on Ms. Cash?
Yes, I did. That's correct.
And my understanding that she made a statement to you when you served those papers?
Yes, when I served them to her, she had stated that she was going to pay her out of her tax return to Deidre.
Did you make that statement?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Well, that's sort of acknowledging this debt.
I acknowledged that I owed her some money, but not the sum of $850.
Well, how much do you think you owe her?
I assumed that I owed her approximately $150.
What about the camera?
The camera, I did lose it at my best friend's wedding, and I replaced it with this camera. She refused to accept it because it was not a model that she wanted.
Well, why did you think that you could give her any camera?
I asked her if it was okay. She told me it was. After she'd used it several times, she didn't like the way it worked. She gave it back to me and told me not to worry about it. After I did offer to replace the camera appropriately for her if she did not like that model.
Oh, so you did it. Tell her I'll replace it.
I told her I would, and she told me not to worry about it.
Is that right?
No, ma'am. I never told her not to worry about it. She said that she would get me another one as soon as she could afford it because she wanted to keep that one for herself.
Well, according to you, you're requesting $150 to replace the camera.
Right. Well, that's for the camera, the carrying case, and it also had rechargeable batteries in it as well. So that's for the whole setup, not just the camera.
Well, 22 weeks times 25 is $550, and $150 for the camera is $700. Does that sound right to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. That's all.
Thank you.
You may step out.
I had tried to contact her several times. She did not pay her phone bill, so I had no way of calling her.
I'm upset that I had to come to this.
I think the relationship between my niece is pretty much non-existent at this point.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Popejoy Swihart versus Ward. Step forward, please.
Student Rachel Popejoy and her father, Dwayne Swihart, are suing their former friend, systems analyst Margaret Ward, for misappropriating bail money meant for Rachel. Margaret says she used the money to buy food for Rachel's kids.
Miss Popejoy, you were arrested.
Yes, Your Honor.
When?
On November the 12th.
What were you arrested for?
I was arrested for willful reckless driving, driving on suspension, and no proof of insurance.
And this was the first time you were arrested for something like that because
Correct.
they fixed very high bail.
Right.
And this is your complaint. You contacted your father.
Correct.
Told him you were in jail and could he please wire how much money?
$1,500.
For your bail?
Yes, ma'am.
And he said probably reluctantly, okay. And he wired the money because you were living where, sir?
In Michigan.
And where were you living?
Omaha, Nebraska.
You wired the money to Miss Ward, who was a friend of your daughter's.
Correct.
With the instruction to go to court and bail her out.
Correct.
And when you went to court, they said you had been such a bad girl previously that the bail wasn't $1,500 but a lot more. How much?
$5,000 at that point.
Which you didn't have.
Correct.
So Miss Ward took $700 and put it in your prison account so that you could, get toilet paper and toothpaste and magazines and gum and whatever you needed. And she kept $800 for herself.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So that's what we're here for today, the $800 that Miss Ward kept for herself. So, Miss Ward, the ball is now in your court, and you're going to explain to me why you did not return the entire $1,500 to Mr. Swihart.
I first became involved with Rachel in June, and her children were coming to my house because they were starving, and I'm not using the term lightly. They were really hungry.
Were you neighbors?
Yeah, they live about 2 blocks from me.
So you started to give them food?
Mm-hmm. And so I did. I started feeding her children all summer. They came to me, and Shelby about moved in with me, and there were times when she and her boyfriend Jason would leave and they'd lock up the trailer. They wouldn't come back for 2 days. It's 90 degrees outside. They had no water and they had no access to a toilet or anything. They always came to me every time, and I took care of her children all summer.
Okay.
Then somebody called CPS on them, and she came to me and asked me for help. So I bought $250 worth of food because they had nothing, and it took quite a bit to put food in. And they didn't have any electricity and any gas. That had all been shut off. So I went down the following Monday, and I paid her electric bill was $186 so I could keep the food cold, and she promised she would pay me back. About a week after that, her boyfriend Jason came up into our house, and they were coming in all hours of night and day. They would come to our house asking for money, and he stole $225 from me. And then a week after that, he came up and he stole another $200 from my granddaughter. So after I couldn't put the bail money down, I mean, there wasn't enough money. She called me the same day and said she talked to them, and they said to put the $1,500, it was okay to go ahead and put that on her books. Well, I didn't really trust that. So
yeah, but you put only $700 on her books at the prison, and you kept $800.
Yeah, for the money that they had stole from me and the money she promised to pay me back.
Where are your children now?
My children are in foster care, Your Honor.
How old are your children?
15, 12, and 8.
They don't have any relatives who can help take care of them?
I don't have any family in Nebraska, Your Honor.
What about you?
We live in Michigan.
That's not Mars.
No, they can move up there anytime they want.
Well, why don't you make an application to the court to take your grandchildren, sir?
They told me they wanted to keep the children with my daughter.
Who did?
The counselors.
Well, are you still with this boyfriend?
Yes, I am. And we're both clean and sober, have been. We go to meetings every single night.
For how long have you been clean and sober?
For almost 90 days, Your Honor. I've completed a parenting class. I've completed a reactive behavior. I've taken several classes.
Listen to me, my darling. How long have you and Jason been involved with drugs?
For probably 6 months.
And what about Jason? How long have you been with Jason?
For about 8 months. I've known him for a couple of years.
Listen to me very carefully. You're not supposed to be a selfish person.
You're right.
Do you think your children would be happier with their grandparents or in strange foster care?
With their grandparents.
Then you tell the social worker that you would love to be reunited with your children at the appropriate time. Now's not it. Probably until Jason has been clean and sober for 3-4 years. Until that time, the children would prefer to be with their grandparents.
Okay, Your Honor.
Okay, I know you say okay. You're not supposed to be selfish. Ms. Ward, bottom line, my dear, you cannot resort to self-help. If you want to sue her for the money that she owes you. And if you want to sue Jason, sue him for the money you say he stole. But you can't take Mr. Swihart's money. Be ridiculous. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. That's all.
Pardon your excuse, you may step out.
Even though her and Jason spent the money together, she had Jason steal everything.
I never said anybody to steal anything from her. I certainly wasn't raised that way.
Once the children were taken away, then she just came after me to see if she could get more money for drugs.
She has helped us out in the past, but she went to extreme with her lies, and all I can say is I'll pray for her.
I can't let this woman and her father stop me from doing what's right.
I'm just thankful to be here. Thanks, Judge Judy, for your time, and I've certainly learned my lesson.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Freeling versus Reed. Step forward, please.
19-year-old cashier Erin Freeling is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old landscaper Philip Reed, for disposing of all her belongings and for damaging their apartment. Philip is countersuing, claiming Erin stole his cat.
Ms. Freeling, you and Mr. Reed used to live together as boyfriend and girlfriend. You lived in an apartment, is that right?
That's correct.
At some point you had an argument, you left, and you claimed that Mr. Reed disposed of some of your property. And in addition, he damaged the apartment so that you didn't get whatever security deposit back you were supposed to. Mr. Reed says that he didn't cause any more than normal wear and tear in the apartment, and he was forced to dispose of your property because he would abandon the property there, and he had to get the property out because the lease was over. Is that right, sir?
Yes, correct.
Okay. When did you move in together, Ms. Freeling?
We had moved in together September of 03.
When did you leave?
July of 04.
Why did you leave?
He got too controlling, started being violent, so I decided to leave. And I had returned a week later to get some personal belongings and my cat. When I returned to get my cat, he had started pushing me back into the apartment. And at that point, I had my mom call 911, and we had the police come over, and they had to take him aside so I could get my personal belongings out of the apartment and my cat. I couldn't get that much stuff that day.
Why not?
Because I had a small car, and I was afraid to return to the apartment because he got very violent when I did go, and I didn't feel that I should have to call the cops every time I want to come over to my apartment.
Go ahead.
When I come back in September of 04, he had left my clothes on the middle of the floor, wet with urine, but I have videotape of all the damages or the stuff that he thrown in the dumpsters.
Approximately, we lived together for a year and a half. We had a loving, caring relationship. About 8 months in the relationship, Mrs. Freeling told me she had feelings for another female. And she left the premises. I didn't hear from her. I called her and I told her if she don't come get her belongings, I'm going to throw them out. She took my cat that my grandmother got for me last Christmas.
Don't interrupt him. Who took care of it?
I did, because she wasn't there most of the time.
Step up. What's your last name?
Reed, Audrey.
Miss Reed, you bought the cat last Christmas?
Yes, I gave it to him as a present.
Miss Freeling, where'd you get the cat from?
I got the cat for Christmas from Philip, and I took care of the cat. I have vet bills.
Can I see the vet bill, please?
This is even his health checkup. Here's his rabies tag. The cat stuff is mailed to my mom's house because she paid for it.
Who took the cat to the vet, Mr. Reed?
Mom did. Erin's mother did.
No, Erin and her mother.
Along with me.
Erin and her mother.
Correct.
Right, from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Thank you. You may sit down, Miss Reed. Now, what stuff do you claim he disposed of that belongs to you?
When I had returned to the apartment, I found everything gone. This is a list of just the main stuff that I found that was gone.
Why didn't you come before? I don't buy the story that you didn't go before because you were afraid of him because he was violent. You could have gone with the police again. You went with them once. You could have gone with them again and gotten your stuff. Why didn't you go back?
Because I didn't have a vehicle that I could move the dresser.
That's baloney.
Because I didn't feel that I should have to get the law involved to get belongings back.
Well, then that's tough. I'm not dealing with something like a sugar dispenser, $3. Salt and pepper shakers, $5. Small cat bowls, $3. The only thing I have to make a decision today about really is the cat and whose cat it is. Mr. Reed, get over the cat. She took the cat with her. She left a lot of other property behind, but she made sure she took the cat. Where's the cat now?
He's at my house.
All right. And the rest of the stuff that was disposed of, you deal with it. Now, you say that he damaged some property.
We had gotten into an argument. I locked myself in the bathroom. He damaged the door. When I went back to the apartment, I found tomatoes on the wall.
Do you have a bill from the landlord charging you for cleaning
Yes,
up?
I do.
I'd like to see it. Who paid the security deposit?
I paid the security deposit.
That was billed to both of us.
Now I'll see the video.
This is what we found dumpster diving. Here's where he threw most of his stuff. Notice, huh? Pretty good, huh?
There's tomato stains on the carpet.
Spot on the carpet. This is the doorknob that he broke trying to get into the bathroom when I locked myself in the bathroom.
You said she locked herself in the bathroom and you knocked the door. Is that true?
No, I'm not a violent person.
Your Honor,
in any event, that was in January, and you lived with him until July. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And another thing is, she came a week before the lease was even up. Like a week. How come she couldn't confront me and say, hey, I'll pay half of it? Like
I
a couple...
don't know. I have no idea. Listen, I'm not
Okay.
Dear Abby.
All right.
I mean, the whole thing is very irritating.
Yeah.
You know, two children playing house, and then things go wrong, and then you annoy the courts by asking them to get involved in who belongs to two placemats and a salt and pepper shaker. If you can't play house like adults, don't play house. Half of $490 is $245, which is left due and owing by each of you to the landlord. The apartment wasn't left in such bad condition. I'm speaking. The apartment wasn't left in such bad condition. The cat belongs to you. Get a judgment for $245. That's all.
You may step out.
He was controlling. He would get violent.
She had feelings for another female, she told me.
I haven't fell in love with another woman.
That is not true.
I just have other preferences.
All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2060, Baron versus Arteaga.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Barone, case is not a very difficult one. You met Mr. Arteaga.
Arteaga.
Take your hands out of your pockets. At a bar?
Yes.
When?
Back in June of 2021.
Did you ever live together?
No.
You always maintained your own residence and he his.
Yes, the apartment I owned was always underneath my name.
But he never lived there?
No.
Good.
May of 2021.
Was it a new car?
Yes.
Give me a rough number. How much was it?
Out the door, 72,000.
And what color did you order?
Black.
This is what you wanted the car wrapped. Now, I think most people know what that means, and I think I know what that means. That means you take a perfectly good car and you put a different finish on it. Is that what it means?
Yes.
You buy a car that has a nice shiny finish and looks clean, and then you put something on it that, I don't know, looks like it's been sitting out under a volcano.
I guess you could say that.
What?
I guess you could say that.
I just
did. 950.
How much?
3,950.
And you had some of that money, but you gave him, transferred to him, $1,800 on your credit card.
Yes, so it was an agreement made between...
No, I didn't ask you. I didn't on a credit card.
Yes.
And according to you, your arrangement was that he would pay you back monthly $100.
Correct.
You don't dispute that.
She offered.
Yeah, she offered. And you did, in fact, on 3 separate months, pay her back $100.
Yes.
And that means that in your view, it was a loan.
Well, it was more of a gift.
Well, then why would you pay her back $100 a month, Mr. Arteaga?
Because our finances are much different.
You're not answering my question. You're doing a dance around my question. If it was a gift to you, this $1,800 towards the wrap for your car, why did you pay her back $300?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. What kind of work do you do?
I'm an electrical superintendent.
Expensive car.
Indeed it is.
You're a single guy?
Yes.
That's what single guys do with their money. Tell me why you stopped paying her back, Mr. Arteaga.
Things got sour very quick.
So things got sour with the relationship?
Yes.
Okay. And is that when you stopped paying her?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500 is what he owes you for the balance of the loan. Thank you. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
We broke up. It was a nasty break. I'm just not going to loan out money to just anyone from here on out.
I'm glad it's over.
And I'm really happy I get my $1,500 back.
You will never see it again. It gets messy, it gets entangled, and we see it time and time again. So it's just hits even harder at home.
Have you noticed, Sarah, that it's probably 80-20 that women give money to boyfriends?
At least what we've seen here, yes.
You know, and if this is a microcosm of the world, and I don't know what that is, I haven't been able to figure it out. I've been doing this kind of business for 30 years, $100. Well, if you're short $1,800, buy a cheaper car.
Yeah.
You know, there are cars that cost less than $72,000. Anyway.
But women should be smarter and not agree to do that.
They ought to make mandatory watching these cases.
Kenesha Jones Poindexter for a trip and wedding expenses.
Miss Dobson, I assume this is your brother.
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And this is his wife.
That is correct.
They're newly married.
That's correct.
When were they married?
June of 2021, June 26th.
Were you at the wedding?
Yes, I was. I was in the wedding.
Wedding at your house?
Wedding was at my home.
This is the unfortunate circumstance that I read in your papers, which I hope to be able to resolve quickly. You've known the defendant for many, many years.
Yes, that's correct.
She became engaged too when she was getting married, and they were planning a wedding, according to you. And Miss Poindexter, according to you, asked you to lay out certain monies for her for the wedding.
That's correct.
They were married. It was a joyous day, I gather. And then you asked her for the money back.
Yes, that's correct.
And she said, I never agreed to pay you any money. We're family. I've done things for you. You've done things for me. Take care
That's
of it
exactly
on
what
your
you
own.
said.
Okay, well, it seems like a family matter, then more like a court matter. I don't see stupid written over here.
No.
If somebody doesn't have $50 and you think I believe that you relied on her statement that I'm going to pay you for this trip that your brother is going on too, I don't believe it.
Clarissa Dobson claims her sister-in-law, Kenesha Jones.
Around the property.
How much?
I would say probably a half an acre, which was big enough to put up 2 large tents, 45 guest tables, chairs, the mayor, some police. It was nice.
And there were certain things that you paid for.
Yes, that's correct.
You paid for a photographer?
Yes, that's correct.
How much?
The photographer was $300, Your Honor.
Okay, what else did you pay for?
Because the party was held at the home, the wedding, all the events pertaining to the wedding party had to take place at the home.
Like what?
So like when we had our bridal shower meetings, because also Miss...
Oh, you mean the meetings to plan the wedding?
Right, to plan the wedding.
I'm not interested in that.
You're not interested in that?
I'm not interested in that. Yeah, so far we have $300 for a photographer that you say you laid out. Did she lay out that money?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, what else?
Her rides back and forth.
I'm not interested in her rides back.
Well, how was she going to get this? She's in Philadelphia. I'm in New Jersey.
$300 for a photographer. What else?
And just money, she asked her $50.
For what?
She didn't say what it was for. It was for the wedding, though, because I have it here. Everything wedding is here.
Well, did she ask you for this $150 on the phone, in person?
She asked for it, like, over the phone, but then I sent the money, too. So anything that I sent to her, I always sent to her through Cash App because she's in Philadelphia, no car.
Okay, then let me ask Miss Poindexter. Miss Poindexter, there would be no other reason for Miss Dobson to send money to you through a Cash App during the wedding period other than for the wedding. Would that be accurate?
Not in January, Your Honor. We didn't start planning our wedding until 90 days before June. So anything that happened in January had nothing to do with my wedding.
Okay. Do you have Cash App statements before January?
I have nothing before January.
She has nothing before.
I have.
So what would she be sending you money for?
It has been times, it has been times when I'll ask her for, let me get $50 or, it has been times if I didn't have it or I might have needed a car fare or something, and she would do that. She would lend me money and vice versa.
No, I'm not talking about vice versa. I don't have a counterclaim. That you said perfectly. I would ask her for $50 or $100 and she would lend me that. Is that the word she used? Let's make sure I heard that right.
She says, it has been times when I'll ask her for, let me get $50 or, there has been times. And you asked her why. She said, if I didn't have it or I need a car fare or something, and she would do that. She would lend me money and vice versa.
Thank you. Lend me money. So, okay, now we're going to get to Miss Dobson. Yes. How much money did you send her via Cash App? Because she's already just acknowledged that those were loans.
So, $150, $100.
Let me have the dates.
Oh, okay. For $100, May 11th, $20, May 17th, $25, May 22nd, $205, 15 on May 25th, May 28th, $45, June 3rd, $15. And I had a February 28th in here for $50. That was the first one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had February 11th only. So you have another.
Right, a February 28th for $50.
Can I see all of those?
Yes, ma'am. There you go.
Okay. Sarah Rose, would you fix that up for me? Okay, and you, based upon the read back and based upon what I thought I heard.
Dollars.
$775. Has she paid you back any of that money?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, the photographer. I want you to tell me how it came about that you paid the photographer.
Because Miss Jones / Poindexter was waiting on unemployment to hit. And I'm not saying she wasn't trying to get the money up, because she was. But when the time came, this photographer guy needed to get paid, she didn't have the money.
Want to tell me about the photographer?
Yes, the photographer, I believe I was short like $300 some odd, and Clarissa did put the rest of the money.
Why didn't you pay her the $775?
I don't believe I owe Clarissa.
Well, you just told her that she loaned you the money when you were short, and she wired it to you or did whatever they do in a cash app. I don't understand all of that. You said it was a loan. Is there any reason why you didn't pay her back? No. Okay. So far I have $775 and $300. Next.
Okay, so now we have the trip. They are the godparents of my twins. Your Honor, we were inseparable.
Okay,
So,
they're the godparents. One.
right. So in the process of planning the twins' birthday, Miss Jones Poindexter said, oh, I would like to go. I'm just waiting on the unemployment, pandemic money, all that to hit. When it came time to go, they didn't have the money.
You're talking about the defendant and your brother. Yeah. They both went.
Right. So
just a second. They both went.
They both went. That's correct.
And what kind of work does your brother do?
He was a chef at the time.
So he was working.
Yes.
And she wasn't working.
Yes. Can I say something?
You can say whatever you want to say. You know where I'm going, don't you?
I know where you're going.
Okay.
Like I said, we were inseparable, right?
I don't care. I don't care about the social aspect of this.
Okay, but
you were already in a place where on January 20th, she didn't have $150, so you sent it to her. On February 11th, she didn't have $100, you sent it to her. On March 8th, she didn't have $50, you had to send it to her. So I don't see stupid written over here.
No.
If somebody doesn't have $50 and you think I believe that you relied on her statement that I'm going to pay you for this trip that your brother is going on too because his godchildren are celebrating a birthday, I don't believe it. So let's just forget a trip. $775 is what she says she owes you because she says it was a loan. $300 for the photographer. You have the pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't hear anything from you suggesting to me that this $300 was a gift.
I honestly did believe that she was doing it for our sister-in-law.
She loved me and I love her. So what?
Honestly, I just want to be able to see my godkid.
I'm sure we'll be all right.
It's always unfortunate and sad when nice occasion turns sour by one thing.
Yeah.
And I thought the brother/husband was
the smartest one.
The smartest one. I'm staying out of this between my sister and my wife.
Yep. The safest place he could be was right where he sat. Just unfortunate. I mean, families squabble all the time, but just to bring it into a legal system, there are ramifications for that sometimes your anger or emotions can get the better of you. But to take it to a filing stage and to use the court system, that's just the next level that I feel like most family members don't need.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2022, Greniger versus Intel.
Thank you. Mr. Greniger, how long have you and the defendant been friends?
I've known Sean probably maybe 3 or 4 years now.
From where?
He lives about 3 blocks away from me. I've met him through another friend that told me he worked on his vehicles before.
You did mechanical work?
Yes.
What kind of business are you in?
Construction, you name it, anything construction.
And you have a couple of trucks?
Yes.
How many?
I have one commercial vehicle and then I just have a Chevy Avalanche.
The commercial vehicle, would you describe it to me? That's the one he was supposed to work on?
Yes.
Describe it to me, please.
It's a 16-foot box truck.
How old?
97.
1997.
Yes, ma'am.
It's as old as Sarah. And I suppose it needed a little work.
Yes.
And you took it to your friend.
Yes.
Did you drive it over there to his house 2 or 3 blocks away? Did you have it towed over to his place?
We had to have it towed over there. It was operable before.
But you had it towed?
Yes.
Yeah. And what month and year did you have it towed there?
I believe this started in June of 2020.
And Mr. Antel, you looked at it and you determined it needed a new engine.
Well, I looked at it. Actually, I did some work prior to that. The intake manifold gasket was...
You mean before June of 2020?
Yes.
And then the truck was running? Then he took back...
Running very crappy.
So it was not running well even after you fixed it?
After I put the intake gasket on, I had it started, it made the same noise. We decided to put an engine in it.
Okay, so it wasn't working after the initial work you did on it?
No.
Decided to put an engine in it. How much was it to work on the engine?
He gave me a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. It was not all in one lump sum.
How much did he give you?
It was 100 here once, 100 twice, a couple different times, you know.
How much money did you give him?
800.
How much did you quote him for the whole job?
1,000.
So he gave you 800, and according to the papers that Mr. Griniger filed, he also purchased an engine.
Yes.
And this was in June of 2020.
I didn't get the motor at my house.
January 7th, 2021.
Okay, so the truck sat on his property for 6 months.
Yes.
Before you got the engine, which was needed to fix it.
Yes. He said it was the intake plenum.
Was that in June of 2020?
Yeah, that's when it began. That's the whole...
Okay. When did he tell you that you needed an engine? In what month? Do you recall?
That was in January.
So the truck sat there, and finally you told him that it needed a new engine, but it was already sitting there for months.
I told him like 2 or 3 months prior to that.
Okay, so it was sitting there for 3 months or 4 months?
Yes.
And he'd already paid you the $800?
He gave me a little bit here and there, yes.
They already paid you the $800 towards the 1,000. So this is what the case is about. The truck has never been fixed. He doesn't have the engine anymore. He scrapped the engine, according to him. Yes. So you want what you paid for it, the engine.
Yes, Your Honor.
First of all, Mr. Ransell said, well, he worked on another truck for you, a smaller truck, and so that ate up the $800. And you didn't come for the engine, and finally he just sold it for scrap. Mr. Antel, were you very busy during this period of time?
Not really, no.
Well, could you tell me why it took 3 months for you to tell him that he needed a new engine?
He knew after I put the plenum gasket back on. I called him on the phone.
What month?
It had him in November, right before Thanksgiving.
So at the end of November. So you had the truck since June. June, July, August, September, October. You had the truck 6 months. Could you tell me why?
Why? I had problems with it. I couldn't get the bumper off. I couldn't do none of that.
Well, but that's your responsibility. You undertook a job.
Yeah, I took the job because he was supposed to help me, and he never did.
He was supposed to help you put in the new engine?
Help me get the bumper off, and then I had problems with the city of Brooklyn Center.
No. He was supposed to help you get the bumper off, and because you couldn't get the bumper off, you couldn't for him that you gave money to?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why he's here.
Yep.
Okay. In what month and year did you fix this other car?
January...
of 2021?
2022.
So in January 2022, the truck was where?
The Avalanche.
The big one?
At his house, at Mike
And
Griniger's.
he brought you another truck?
Yes.
Which other truck did he bring you in?
The Chevy Avalanche.
The big truck, the commercial truck, is now back at his house?
Yes.
And it went back to his house because they were going to tow it from the city?
Yes.
And you say in January, he then brought you a different truck?
Yes, of 2022.
That you worked on?
Yeah, completed it.
Just a second. Do you recall that, sir?
No, it's not exactly how it went.
Did you, in January of 2022, did you bring him, you had the big commercial truck back at your house because it had to be moved.
Yep.
You hadn't gotten your $800 back?
Nope.
And he still had the engine?
Yep.
In January of this year?
Yep.
So, yep is not an answer, yes is an answer. So, why, sir, under those circumstances, would you bring him another car to fix? You have a driver's license?
It's currently suspended.
How long has it been suspended, Mr. Griniger?
About a year now.
Now, why is that? Have you had accidents in the past? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, serious ones. Yes.
Michael Griniger claims truck mechanic Sean Antle owes for a truck engine and repair costs. Sean is countersuing, claiming Michael filed a false police report against him.
Now, you hadn't gotten your $800 back?
Nope.
And he still had the engine?
Yep.
In January of this year?
Yep.
So, yep is not an answer, yes is an answer. So, why, sir, under those circumstances, would you bring him another car to fix?
Because then I had absolutely no transportation. I needed something to work.
Just a second. You have a big truck, you had a little truck. So the big truck is now immobile. It's at your house. And the only that was inoperable.
No, it was operable, but he told me that...
Not he told you. You didn't bring it to him because he told you you were having trouble with it.
Yes.
What kind of trouble were you having with it?
There was a grinding
sound. That's a big deal. Grinding sound.
Yes.
What parts did it need?
Well, he told me it was the transfer case.
Did he fix your truck?
Eventually, but it was the rear end.
Just a second. Eventually, did he fix, take your hands out of your pockets, did he fix the truck? The second one? The smaller one?
Yeah.
The one that you needed for transportation?
Yes, eventually, yes, he did put in a rear end.
Okay. Did you pay him for that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
How much did you pay for that?
$300.
How long did he have it?
Oh, he did that within about a week.
2 days.
2 days. Okay. So it took you 2 days?
Yes.
Did you give him a bill for that work?
I didn't give him nothing. Just a word of mouth.
He says that he gave you $300 to fix that car. Did he give you $300 to fix that car?
No, he did not.
Okay, do you have any proof?
$600 altogether.
Just a second. Would you please show me any proof that you have that you gave him $300 to fix that car?
I don't have proof of the money that I gave him. I just have the receipt.
He doesn't got it. Okay.
I just have the receipts for the parts that I bought for the vehicle.
Okay.
He first said it was the transfer case. I buy a transfer case.
Doesn't matter. He's working, so...
Yeah, but I paid him to do something. He took something apart of the truck. It wasn't even the problem. But yet I still paid him for it.
But this, quite honestly, I don't
and
understand.
then I paid him for the rear end, too.
I don't understand a couple of things.
Okay.
If I've been disappointed by a workman, as you clearly were, from June 2020 until January 2022, because they hadn't completed a job for you, despite the fact that you purchased the part, I wouldn't call that same mechanic back. I wouldn't call that same plumber back. I wouldn't call that same electrician back because I'd had a bad experience with them. So it's kind of, well, so why?
Felt like I was in, in a tight spot, and I really couldn't
What kind of
afford.
tight spot were you in? Where do you live?
I live in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, that's a big town. There are lots of mechanics there. There are lots of auto repair, truck repair.
Yeah, but I really financially couldn't afford, legitimate.
Well, that's what happens when you deal with a legitimate. But I don't understand why an otherwise intelligent man would take his only semi-operating vehicle to the same person who had his truck for a year and didn't fix it. Listen, what'd you do with his engine?
I scrapped it.
Okay. Don't be mad at me.
Huh?
Don't be mad at me.
I'm not. I love you.
Okay, good. Thank you. When did you scrap it?
The end of April of 2022.
Did you give him any notice that you were going to scrap his engine?
No, I did not. There's a false police report made against me.
Okay.
I have the case number and the officer's number.
Okay, just a sec. So you retaliated because that's your counterclaim, that he filed a false police report, as a result of which, and the false police report said that during the course of a heated argument about this truck, that he says that you pulled a gun and...
Did not.
Filed a police report.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Joe?
You did.
Prove it. You can't.
Mr. Rantel. And that's your counterclaim, that he filed this false police report and nothing ever came of it except you were embarrassed by being questioned by the police in front of family members.
Yes.
And as a result of that false police report, you threw away his motor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, you can't do that. That you can't do. How much did you pay for the motor, sir?
$690 plus I paid $100 for delivery of the motor.
I'd like to see the invoice for that.
I got the invoice for the motor, but
That's all I need.
Okay.
Thank you. So, Mr. Rantel, so that we're clear, you have to understand you can't get even by selling somebody else's property.
I didn't
What you
sell
do?
it. I didn't sell it. I gave it away.
It doesn't matter. By disposing of. Let's make it disposing of. When you say you scrapped it, you mean nobody gave you $10 for it?
Not a dime.
Okay, then you can't give it away in retaliation
Why
for
not?
filing someone else's property, in retaliation for them doing something to you when you have legal recourse. Your legal recourse is to come here and file a case. You did it as a counterclaim and say he filed a false police report against me that I was using a gun. So that's what you do. The response to that isn't, I'm going to sell his property. That's not your response. When I used to sit in family court, I had young people, one of whom was selling drugs for a very long time, heavy drugs. kid, 15, 16 years old. And he had 6 or 7 priors for selling heavy-duty drugs. And I tried that case, and there was no question he was selling drugs. And his lawyer's argument at the disposition stage of that case was he was selling drugs because his grandmother died. I said, I lost all my grandparents, and I was close to my grandparents. I did a lot of things. I grieved, lost my appetite for a while. I was sad, but I didn't sell drugs. So when somebody does something to you that you believe is against the law, your responsibility is you file a case against them.
Right.
You proceed legally against them. You don't take it out in another way, because that doesn't make a civilized society. Just doesn't. That makes sort of a vigilante kind of thing. So you shouldn't do that. So you have to pay him for his engine. Now, as far as the second piece of your case is the $800 that you gave him, I have no idea how much it was to fix your second car, but he did in fact fix it. And since you had no particular agreement with him on how much it was, and according to you, you couldn't deal with someone, you didn't have the funds to deal with someone who was, I think the word was legitimate.
Legitimate.
That's a problem that I can't resolve for you. Now let's get to this argument and his counterclaim. The argument that you had was over the truck.
The white truck? Yes.
Any truck. I don't care what.
Yes.
I'm not a truck girl myself. I like 4-door comfortable sedans. And this argument took place on what date? Why don't you tell me, Mr. Rantel?
Report is 7/25/22.
7/25/22.
May I see the police report?
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor.
That's a lie, because it was April.
I'm going to look at it. Just a second. Yeah, time of occurrence, April 22nd, 2022. It was April.
Yeah.
Yes, I got him.
You don't need a truck, you don't need a car. You have no driver's license.
No, ma'am. Me and my son, we work construction together. He drives.
Do you know how old I am? Do you have any idea how old I am? You think that I believe that? It's only going 4 miles an hour.
Michael Griniger is accusing truck mechanic Sean Antle of wrongfully selling his engine and threatening him. Sean claims Michael accused him of flashing a gun he never owned.
Now, I'm going to look at it. Just a second. Yeah, time of occurrence, April 22nd, 2022. It was April.
Yeah.
Yes, I got him.
You have a driver's license?
It's currently suspended.
How long has it been suspended, Mr. Griniger?
About a year now.
What were you doing driving a vehicle?
I wasn't. They were towing the vehicle with a tow chain.
I understand that. But you drive a vehicle, sir.
I was steering the vehicle.
What does that mean, you were steering the vehicle?
Driving it.
The vehicle
Just-
moving at 4 miles an hour.
I don't care if it was running backwards. I just asked you. You have no license because according to the police, you having a driver's license would be inimical to public safety. That's what it says here. Now, why is that? Have you had accidents in the past? Yes.
Yes.
Serious ones? Yes. Okay. You don't need a truck, you don't need a car. You have no driver's license.
No, ma'am. Me and my son, we work construction together. He drives.
Do you know how old I am? Do you have any idea how old I am? You think that I believe that? It was only going 4 miles an hour. I will set the rules of what it is that means driving. You go 5 miles an hour, it's really not
He lives
driving.
3 blocks away from him. We were just
I don't care.
towing it down the street.
I don't care whether you were in the kitchen, he was in the laundry room. And when you spoke to the police, Mr. Griniger, there were 2 other witnesses, and you didn't give them your son's name because you say he doesn't like police.
And that I want to make straight. That is not true. I would not tell a police officer my son
It should
doesn't
be noted
like
that
police.
Griniger stated that Michael Jr. would not give a statement because he didn't like police.
Right.
As well as
That's
Griniger
not
would
true.
not
My little
give a
brother's
phone
a
number
police
for Michael
officer.
Jr. I'm just telling you, I'm reading you what
I know, I'm
what
sorry.
you handed me. It's your evidence.
Yep, I'm sorry.
Okie dokie. Did you make an application, Mr. Griniger, for any sort of protective order against him?
No.
No. You were advised by the police that you could do that if you wanted to.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, that report is interesting.
It was you, your son, and this person, Kyle, who were present, and only Mr. Antel. Is that right, when this confrontation took place?
Yes.
And according to you, you got out of your truck and you started walking towards him aggressively. That's according to you.
That's not
according.
true. He's 40 feet away from me.
No.
I can't hear that well.
According to you, I'm reading you what your police report says, sir.
Yeah, but
I'm reading what your police report says based upon what you told the police at the time back in April.
It's not entirely correct.
Griniger stated that he started advancing towards Antel. Griniger also stated that he called Antel while he was walking towards him. It should be noted that Griniger stated, and this is all on body cam, that he was walking towards Antel aggressively. Griniger stated that Antel then pulled what he described as a black handgun out of his sweatshirt pocket. He described it as black and silver trim. He stated that he did not point it or say anything, just showed it to him to make you aware that he was carrying. And after the police interviewed both of you and confirmed the two people with you were out and you were walking and confronting him aggressively, called his names, and could not confirm the fact that he had a gun, took out a gun, not pointed it to you, just showed you that he had it, they decided to do nothing. What happened after that report is that police officers came to your house to ask you about that.
Yes.
Right? And you said, related practically the same thing that Mr. Griniger did to the police, that he approached you, that he called you a name, that he was aggressive. You said all of that.
Yes.
But you said you did not have a gun.
That's right.
Okay. And this is not meant to hold you criminally responsible for anything. Mr. Antel, have you ever had possession of a gun?
No.
Ever in your life?
No.
Did you ever purchase a gun?
No.
In your state, in order to purchase a gun legally, do you have to go through a process or is it a carry state?
You gotta go through a legal process.
You have to?
Yes.
Okay. Were you ever arrested for carrying a gun?
No.
Other than your statement that he showed you that he had a gun, and how far was he standing from you?
About 40 feet.
40 feet away. And you saw him take something out of his sweatshirt pocket.
He didn't remove it out of his pocket. He removed his hand covering it.
What does that mean?
It was in his pocket. He was wearing a hoodie.
How do you know it was in his pocket? What do you have, X-ray vision?
No, my son seen it because his vehicle was right alongside his vehicle. So my son seen it, and then when he got back in his car and pulled up another 10 feet and got out of his car, turned around and said, yeah, bring it, and a few expletives, and then pulled his hand out of his hoodie pocket and revealed the handle of the gun.
Just a second. So you're saying at that time you saw it?
Yes.
You saw it, not your son
My
40
son
feet away.
Seen it
not
on the
son
seat
40
of his
feet away.
car.
That's a lie.
But you saw
he reached in and grabbed it and put it in his sweater because when he got back out of the car to face me is when he decided to show me he had a gun.
Okay. Were you out of your truck at the time?
Yes, I was standing beside
Okay,
him.
so you were out of your truck. And what about your son? Was he out of the truck?
Nope.
He was in. What about Kylie?
He remained in the truck, too. He was the one in front pulling the truck that I was steering, and he was following behind. It was a little convoy.
And Mr. Antel was by himself?
Yes. He was driving down the street in the opposite direction.
Mr. Antel, I am not satisfied, quite frankly, and cannot make a determination. Maybe you had a weapon. I don't find that the acts that you allege that he committed by filing this false police report is something that I can justify giving you a financial award for, because I'm not so sure that you didn't have something in your pocket.
I didn't have
I'm not sure. In any event, Mr. Antel, you owe him for the engine that you discarded in a peak. You can't do that. Cost of the engine was $590, right? $590. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Ma'am,
We're finished.
Your Honor.
We're done.
Court is adjourned.
I was kind of in a hard spot. I needed my truck fixed.
Try to push me and push me.
I trusted him.
It didn't work today. I won.
Truck is inoperable. It's sitting in my backyard.
I worked for what he gave me.
I really couldn't afford, like I said, a legitimate shop or a mechanic.
I've never owned a pistol.
Yeah, he's lying.
Basically, if I'm going to fight, I'm going to fight with my bare hands.
Don't do anything without any receipts.
Our friendship is through.
It's really hard when you have two difficult people, but there was something about what he said that had the ring of truth to it.
Mm-hmm. Very honest.
A directness. And I'm really not convinced. Were you?
No, I wasn't either.
That he had a gun?
It could have gone either way, and while I believed his outburst of innocence, I couldn't imagine making something like that up, but maybe that's just me. So it was really difficult. I don't think I could have made a determination either way either.
Yeah, and I think the answer is here. If you can't make a decision one way or another, it's not supposed to be a guess. It's supposed to be by some evidence.
Yeah.
But you can't sort of take the law into your own hands, and if he filed a police report, I'm going to scrap his engine. That's inappropriate. But with regard to the $800 that he paid him, there's no question he worked on the other truck. And he said he worked on it for 2 days.
To drive it.
And the plaintiff didn't have a license to drive it anyway.
Yeah.
And Sarah, didn't he say, I needed one functional vehicle, so something like that.
We'll have to get Whitney to read it back.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks.
রেগুলার ইউজের জন্য ফোনটা আপনার জন্য বেস্ট হতে পারে। ফোনটা ধরেন আপনি কোথাও গেলেন, এটা যে আপনি কোন ফোনের প্যান্টের পকেটে রাখছেন না কোথায় রাখছেন এটা আপনি কেউ খুঁজেই পাবে না। এতটুকু একটা ফোন কে খুঁজে পাবে বলেন? এই হচ্ছে ফোন, ব্যাটারিটা লাগাই, আর এই হচ্ছে স্পিকার ফোনের, আর এই হচ্ছে মাইক্রোফোন, আর কি দেখাই ও, আর এই ফোনের সাথে কোনো চার্জার দেয় নাই, ফোনের কোনো চার্জার নাই, এটা এইরকমই। আর এর ব্যাটারির যে দুইটা ঘাট আছে ব্যাটারির, একটা দুইটা, অন্যান্য যে নর্মাল ফোনগুলো তিনটা থাকে, এটা থেকে দুইটা। ব্যাটারিটা খুব ইন্টারেস্টিং একটা ব্যাটারি গাইস, মানে অবাক করা জিনিস। এখনকার সময় দাঁড়িয়ে যে আমরা সবাই বড় বড় ফোন ইউজ করতে অভ্যস্ত, সবাই বড় বড় ফোন ইউজ করতে পছন্দ করি, কিন্তু এইটা দেখেন এত ছোট একটা ফোন। গাইস কারেন্ট চলে গেছে, ব্যাড লাক। আমার পাশে একটা লাইট জ্বালানো আছে, লাইটের আলো যা দেখা যাচ্ছে। আনবক্সিং এর সময় এরকম মানে গরিবের আনবক্সার, মানে যারা আর গাইস এই করি, ফোনের ব্যাটারিটা লাগাই,